So before I move on, I kind of wanted to make sure I mentioned that there are other precise definitions of limits. And so it really just depends on the type of limit you're actually looking at. For instance, the definition that I gave before was a two-sided limit. It's the limit that we started the whole class with. And so what I want to move on now to is I want to talk about some of the other precise definitions. And I will make sure I mention that it is important to consider the fact that there's lots of different types of limits that we've talked about in this course. And so I actually have a worksheet for you guys that has a total of 15, all 15 of them, different definitions of limits that you guys are going to have to fill in. The best part is it's all kind of mix and match. Once you get the idea of a couple of them, they all kind of follow from there. But make sure you read through the notes because I've got other examples on there and some of the extra definitions I just really didn't have time for in the videos. So what I wanted to start off with is the one-sided limit. So again, we're still going to use that epsilon is greater than 0, and that delta is also greater than 0. Those are our standards. So epsilon and delta are both greater than 0. So the first one is a limit from the left. What we're going to do, instead of having the absolute value of x minus n, what we're going to do is just say n minus delta is less than x, which is less than n. So we're talking about just numbers, just x values that are strictly less than our n value, what we're looking for. We're still going to use the same exact definition for the y part. The only thing that we're changing again is the x part because we only want to look at numbers less than n. If I'm doing the right side, notice the n with the plus, I'm only going to do numbers that are slightly bigger than n. So again, n is less than x is less than n plus delta. Again, the y values, there's no difference. I'm still just looking for L, okay? So hopefully that helps kind of explain what to do if you have a right side or a left side definition. In that case, you only have to change the x values. Now, I'm going to move on and start talking about some of the other ones, the infinite ones. So for instance, this first one up here is talking about an infinite limit where the answer is infinity. So in this case, the x value is not what's changing, it's my y values. The y values are tending toward infinity. So instead of using an epsilon, I'm going to use the letter m. And I'm going to say that m is greater than 0 because it's got to go toward positive infinity. I want it to be a positive number. So I'm keeping the x part of the definition the same. All I'm going to do is change and say f of x has to be greater than m. Whatever m is probably a big number because, again, if we're heading toward infinity, we want it to be an ever-growing number. All right, the last one is I've got here a limit at infinity, in this case, negative infinity. So what I did here was we're saying it goes toward a number, so we're going to still use epsilon. We're still going to use the same y value definition. The only thing I'm changing is, the x value definition, because I want x to go toward negative infinity, so I'm going to use n for a negative number less than 0. This is the only time you're ever going to use a less than 0 symbol in the definition, is when you're going toward or answering it at negative infinity. Okay, so the only thing I'm going to change here is if x is less than n. If x is a number smaller than some other negative answer. Okay, I want it to be an ever-growing smaller number that I'm plugging in. And again, I want it to go toward a number, so I'm going to keep the y value the same. So again, this is everything that you need to know. These are all of the bits and pieces that have to fit together. And so just keep in mind, again, if you're changing what the x is going toward, the only thing you're going to change is the x part of the definition. If you're changing what the y is going toward, you're only going to change the y part of the definition. And it's all just going to be mixed and matched together. But always, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask me. I'm always here to help. Thank you.